I had some group calls. I talked to a lot of the feedback. So Khalil has been speaking to a lot of you guys, and if he hasn't spoke to you guys already for feedback, he will. Amber, also, all your stuff is right here. Side note, but next I'm gonna like lock it in a drawer so nobody can touch it. On top of that, there's been a lot of feedback that we're receiving where the group chat isn't as informative as it should be, where there isn't enough essentially direction being given. So now that I have that feedback from you guys, I'm contemplating doing different group chats for different levels, right? So if I'm explaining, and this is my justification, we just added a couple people who are just first time picking up the machine as a test to see how we can help them as a group, right? Because my goal with the group chat is how can we all bounce off each other to benefit each other in the tattoo industry, right? I want to create a collective. I'm going to need this in a minute. I want to create a collective rather than separate, right? So I want a group chat that builds artists, not a group chat that is just joking around, essentially. So what I'm thinking, which give me feedback on your separate time, I'm thinking do group chats for beginners, for intermediates, and for professionals. And you'll be allocated where I see fit, right? Based on your skill level, I'm going to put you in a certain place, right? Intermediate is probably going to be the heaviest hitting one, but beginner is going to be for majority of you guys who are just picking up a machine, who haven't picked up a machine yet. Just because you're in the beginner folder or the beginner group chat does not mean that you are essentially at the same skill level as everybody else in the beginner. It just means you don't have the information to be at the intermediate level yet. You have more to learn, right? So with that, I'm thinking about keeping the main group and then essentially breaking off and doing beginner, intermediate, expert, right? So when you get to the professional chat, I honestly think there's going to be maybe one or two people in the professional chat, people who are well-rounded and they're just essentially looking to smooth out their work, but they understand how to use the corner of a mag to hit a corner of hair on a wrist. Difficult placement, difficult task. You need to essentially utilize the mag. I don't know who this is. Utilize the mag to your benefit. That's a difficult thing to do. And if you're able to do that properly, you deserve to be in a professional chat, right? It's higher things that you need to understand basic foundation in order to do. Where I realized if I'm explaining to do these more difficult technical applications to beginners, they don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. You get what I'm saying? So I don't want to overflood certain people's minds when you need to understand the foundation in how to manipulate a mag in the first place. So that's probably the biggest shit that I've seen change, or the biggest feedback I've received, is getting the information you need to progress on your own rather than getting stuff that is basic for beginners or stuff that is mainly for people who are really trying to clean their work up, right? If you find yourself in the middle, I want to make sure you're getting the information you need. So that's why I want to go in that direction. Because I took a couple quick one-on-ones where they explained that. Also, big thing, also pushing this. Some people are willing to speak up in the chat, some people aren't, right? So if you are in the intermediate stage and the beginners are speaking up, I'm going to be teaching beginner shit because that's the feedback I'm receiving on my own. If you have certain problems, how the fuck am I supposed to know what your problems are if you don't recite them to me? So I don't want it to come down to the person that speaks up reaps the benefit when everyone's paying the same amount to learn. It's not fair to the people that aren't willing to speak up, right? So by dividing it up into separate sections, I think you're going to have an easier time, easier time speaking up for the people around you because you understand you're all at the same level. And two, you shouldn't have a problem with gaining the information you need when I know you're in the right bracket that you're supposed to be in. But in the general chat with everybody in it, that's where I'm going to be teaching financial shit, social media shit. Like that's where the across the board shit, you guys are going to be at the same level. You get what I'm saying? So when it comes to actual tattooing skill, that's kind of how I'm going to.
That's
Um,
totally true.
how would you organize the calls that way, being different groups or all people still? So that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out how we would essentially do the calls. Because if we do the calls, everybody in one, what are we teaching? Am I still going to be teaching beginner shit when it's
What
here?
else I'm 24. This nigga, Fredo just called a ghost a bitch, bro.
Facts. So with that, I think what I'm going to end up doing is 3 different chats or 3 different group calls which it's not necessarily going to change much on your guys' end. It's going to change a lot on how I need to organize my time on my end. That's it. But I'm willing to put in 2 more hours a day to teach people exactly what you need to learn. I want to see you guys become profitable, really good technical tattoo artists. So after the first couple months, I learned just as much as you guys did. Now I'm going to approach it a little bit differently. All right. So I would say for all you guys, speak up and let me know what you need to know to get better. And I'm going to do essentially like a 15-minute interview with each one of you to understand what direction you need to go in. And that's how I'm going to structure it a little bit better on my end. Sound good? Fire. All
Smooth.
right. Good. I like it.
Yeah, I honestly believe it's a good idea.
I think it's a way better idea than it would have been. That's what.
Yeah, it's definitely less.
Yeah.
It's also just like you're just starting this shit, so you're trying to figure out what works best.
And that's
So,
another thing. This is my first run around with it, just like it's yours. So just as much as you guys are learning here, so am I. So in the beginning, I think it was okay with the smaller amount of people we had in the group. Now that we're growing to a larger scale, I do think organization is going to be a very big piece as to how we grow. Also, if you're a beginner and you understand shit and you show me you understand shit, guess where you're going next? Intermediate. It's just a ladder, which hopefully, if it was me and I was put in the beginner fucking section, I would be working my ass off just to say I'm with the intermediates. So hopefully that lights a fire under your guys' asses to be better and to essentially push yourself harder because you want to be with the professionals. That's how my mind works. I'm not saying everybody's does, but if you want to be the best, being placed at intermediate instead of professional would fucking piss me off. So if you guys are like me, it'll be just another driving factor
So what?
to get you in the right place.
Just water.
Facts. So let me see.